Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil wassalatu wassalamu asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and every good evening to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allocating your time on our international forums COVID-19 affect worldwide students. As we know, on 31 December 2019, World Health Organization (WHO) was informed of cases of pneumonia of unknown causes in Wuhan City, China. The WHO declared the virus a public health emergency of international concerns on 30 January 2020 and later announced a pandemic on 11 March 2020. Since 2021, variant of the virus has resulted in a further wave in several countries, with the Delta variant being the most virulent. The whole world has been shocked by the news of the COVID-19 outbreak. People around the world are at a risk due to fear that the spread of this pandemic is increasing and causing many deaths over time. The COVID-19 pandemic is affecting our loved ones, including our family, friends, community, business, and students. In Malaysia, all schools and universities were ordered to close and Malaysian ordered to undergo movement control order, MCO. Malaysia not allowed to across the country and they the orders to stop to spreading the COVID-19 pandemic. When people's standard of living improve, they often think about increasing their knowledge so they can have a better life. To do that, they choose to study in developed country where they can get a progressive education. So today, we gather through this forum to share about the experience of Malaysian students going through COVID-19 while studying abroad. Before we go further, let me introduce to all of you about our four great panels that are here with us today. For our first panel, I will introduce Mr. Muhammad Lokman Hakim bin Muhammad Fauzi, a 23 years old Malaysian student majoring in mechanical engineering and currently study in Korea University, South Korea. Ano saya, Mr. Lokman? Okay, thank you. Then our second panel from University Canterbury, New Zealand, Mr. Ahmad Aizat Berazali, a 22 years old Malaysian student majoring in information system. Good evening, Mr. Ahmad Aizat. How are you? Okay, great. Okay, next, we move to the third panel, which is Mr. Hatim Zahid bin Hamzah, a Malaysian student studying in Al-Azhar University, Egypt. Mr. Hatim Zahid is 24 years old and majoring in Islamic law. Masa al-khair, ya Hatim Zahid?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And the last one, and the youngest among the panel, and the one and only, Miss Lo Kai Suan, one and only our flowers in our forums. 20 years old Malaysian student majoring in sport management at Malaysia University, Taiwan. Ni hao.
Hello. Ni hao.
Okay, great guys. Okay, so when I say is thank you to all for our great panels for attending these forums. So I guarantee that many students are curious and wonder about your doing in abroad. As we know that many different countries offer different style of study, different environment, different culture, and many more. So the question of the day is, can you please share about your experience while you studying abroad? That's all amazing if you can share with us. So I think we can start with the first panel, which is Muhammad Lukman Hakim.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening, and annyeonghaseyo. So, for the all, I would like to apologize for my poor English because my English is not that good because I'm studying Korean and we didn't use English that much in our daily conversation. But okay, so I will introduce myself shortly. So I'm Lukman, a final year student at Korea University, and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering. And I've been living in Korea for about 4.5 years, and I will be going back to Malaysia next year. So, if I must say, living in Korea, it is quite convenient, and I never felt any difficulties in my stay here. And regarding about the COVID-19 situation here, unlike Malaysia, we didn't have any lockdown from our first cases, and there is only just some regulations and safety measures regarding the social distancing. And for the safety measure in here, we have 4 levels, which is level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And right now, Korea is in the level 4, which is the highest level among them. And actually, the safety measures supposedly to be loosened as the cases are expected to be reduced by the end of the June. However, there is a drastic increase in the number of cases in the early of July that reached around 1,000 cases, and it is the highest number of cases in this year. And for this level 4 social distancing, there is no lockdown, but the outdoor gathering is allowed, but it is limited to 4 people, and we can also dine in the restaurant. However, it is only until 10 p.m. and for mostly the religious activities are be done virtually. So that means that we can go to the mosque for this timing. And in terms of studying, due to due to the level 4 safety measure, the classes is done through online, through live streaming or recorded lectures. And for us, engineering student, we have a few lab classes, and most of them is done online or done offline, but with a limited number of students and people in this lab. And in terms of academic, I must say, the competition with the Korean student is really challenging because they are very committed in their study. So there is no wonder they really done well in their exam. And for the exam, their evaluation is based on the graph, meaning that there is a certain quota for each grade. So most of the time, Korean students achieve higher compared to us Malaysian students. However, due to the COVID-19 situation, most of the lecturers are aware of the students' difficulties in the study, and most of the grading system are changed to absolute evaluation, meaning that there is a possibility of a whole class to get a great score if their performance is good. And I must say that the exam format and grading method during the COVID-19 is quite easy, and it really helps the students who are struggling in their studies. And as a conclusion, study environment in Korea is quite hard due to the competition with the Korean student and the language barrier. However, it has been eased during the COVID-19 period. Thus, it has reduced the stress for us Malaysian students. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lukman. I think Korea is a very interesting country, as we often see in K-dramas and variety show revealing their culture, foods, environment, cultural place, and many more lah. So thank you for very interesting and impressive sharings about your study country. So next, I would like to invite our second panel, which is Mr. Ahmad Aizat, to share his experience of his learning environment in New Zealand. So, sir, please.
First of all, hi everyone. Hello, Kia ora. I would like to thank MPP UITM for inviting me to this talk. So my name is Ahmad Aizat Birazali. I'm studying at University of Canterbury. Actually, I just graduated and from Bachelor of Commerce, which I'm majoring in Information Systems. And inshallah, I will be back home in Malaysia this December, just waiting for my graduation. So studying here is basically quite similar with other universities because all the lectures, assignments, meeting new people is very just the same with any countries. But the differences is the weather, which I can say because the weather here can be very, very cold because I'm even wearing a jacket inside my house. Because sometimes you have to wake up with a -3 to go to the classes early in the morning, so it can be very chilly here. And also the accent and slangs here are quite unique because and it also can be one of the problems here because sometimes E can be an I, A can be an E. For example, like people would say yes, but in New Zealand we would say yes. And Kia ora. oi, and a, genders, and there are which are unique terms if you want to talk with Kiwis here. So it's hard for me for first time, but later on it's good. It's okay lah. So but regarding the GPAs here, because in Malaysia we usually use the over 4, but it's here it's over 9. So because when you got A plus it is 9, and then A 8, A minus 7, and etc. So whenever you got a bad grade, like for example like C plus, it's going to be pulling your GPAs very hard. So maintaining your good grades here can be challenging, but Alhamdulillah I graduated with a great GPA, alhamdulillah. And also COVID here is alhamdulillah also, because we currently don't have any positive cases, meaning that everyone here is living normally as usual. However, we need to wear mask whenever we are in public transports. Because during the lockdown here in New Zealand during 2020 until the first part of 2021, we only have one semester during lockdown, so all of the exams is the same as everyone, is using online, but the GPAs won't change because the lecturers will still going to be mark your paper strictly. So that's it's a hard semester for me, but everything's went well since there's no COVID cases here, and also the borders is not open to other countries except for Australia. So so it's very hard for Malaysian students that studying. Supposedly, my juniors should be coming here in New Zealand, but since the borders are closed, so they are currently studying online in Malaysia, but based on Christchurch. So I think that's all from me.
Okay, thank you. What a great experience from New Zealand, I think, because already zero case. Thank you, Mr. Isaac. I can imagine how Mr. Isaac lived his life as a student at there. Great experience for me. Next, on behalf of our students, can you share your experience study abroad? What do you have to do there? As we know that in Malaysia, students undergo online distance learning at home, and you are going through the same thing as us. As at University Al-Aqsa. So I would like to ask Mr. Hatim Zahid to share about your experience that study in Egypt.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and hello to everyone. First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for inviting me to this very informative talk as one of the panel here to share some tip with all of you tonight. So without wasting of your time, I would like to introduce myself here. Okay, my name is Hatim Zahid bin Hamza, and I'm currently in my second years of studies in Cairo, Egypt. Okay, talking about my experience of studies during COVID-19 hit Egypt. For the first stage, it's just perfectly fine. But then, since the daily cases in Egypt rose up like drastically, especially in Cairo, Egyptian government started to take in action, starting like total lockdown and closing all the education sectors like school and also university, and change the education process from offline class, which means you have to go to university to online class. To be honest, for me, I find it's a good thing at the first, but then like day after days passes, I feel that I miss my normal life again. I wanted my freedom as a normal human being. Can you imagine that I have to stay in my confined space without much activities for 24 hours every day for almost 2 months? Okay, since that I'm living at Malaysian government hostel, I have to follow all the rules here. If I wanted to get my essential stuff, I need to use runners to get it from me because I can't even step out of my apartment. After almost 2 months, I think Egypt in an unbearable pandemic crisis, our university making a confirmation statement that no final exam for year 1 to 3. So it's a big year for me and my friends. And it'll be changed from with online assignment, or what we call it a bahas. And what happened to 4 years or final years? Yeah, there are learning processes to keep going with their online classes, but no confirmation yet about about when will they start their exam. For me, I took this change to go back to Malaysia and be with my family. Okay, and that's all about the study experience during pandemic crisis in Egypt. Okay, and then for the current situation in Egypt, everything turns back to normal again, and alhamdulillah, but then still with extended SOP procedure or SOP. Okay, so that's all from me, and back to our moderator.
All right, thank you, Mr. Atim. What a great discussion. What impressive sharing about yourself or your country study. So thank you, Mr. Atim. Again, it's not easy for student who is far away from family and need to study abroad. So I sure you guys is great, doing great at your study abroad. So and the last one, you want to hear from Miss Lo Kaizwan. And I think this is my friends, my old friends. So before this, we already have some discussion. So Miss Kajwan already told me that she already in Taiwan. So I think Miss Kajwan can share about your experience study abroad in Taiwan.
Hello. Good evening to all the panel and my old friend Eddie. As a moderator, this is my first time to participate a forum. If there are any imperfections, please forgive me. Thank you. I'm Location, a Chinese girl from Klang, Selangor. I like playing basketball and I have been playing it for 10 years. It wouldn't become my occupation in my future, but it will be my all-time lover. You may know that I received Chinese education since I was young. I was fortunate enough to study at Pinghua High School and I graduated from Pinghua in business class. Last year in August, I came to LOTI University in Taiwan and studied for sport management course to gain my undergraduate degree. And now I have finished my freshman year. Most people in Taiwan use Chinese, which is my mother tongue. Therefore, there is no big problem with my communication here. All Taiwanese are very kind and friendly, and I have also met many Taiwanese friends here. Besides, their public transportation is very developed, and I only need to Google it for the places I want to go. In terms of study, I got full scholarship, which also includes accommodation fees, so my financial burden is relatively small, and I only need to work to earn my daily expenses every month. So far, I have lived happily here. I'm glad that I can study in a comfort and friendly environment. It is so lucky that I had chosen the right place to study for me, and I will never regret coming to Taiwan. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss. I want to say my hello lah for my old friends. Okay, so now is the beginning for our real topics that we have bring our four panels to discuss about the current issue, the current issue that worldwide students are facing right now. So I will like to ask the first panel back, Mr. Lukman Hakim. So as you guys know, the audience already know about the difficulty of study because we're facing the internet connection problems. So I want to ask Mr. Lukman, what kind of tips or something that you think we can overcome these things, and also what the management or university can do to overcome these things. So Mr. Lukman, can you share about it?
Okay. So thank you. So first of all, I think as you guys know that Korea has a good internet connection. So yeah, that is true. And so I did not have that much problem with the internet connection. But I will share to you guys about my experience about regarding the internet connection problem from my studies in Korea. And also, I agree that poor internet connection is one of the burdens for the student, especially for the students who are living in the rural area or places with some bad internet connections. And frankly saying, when students have a problem with their internet connection, I can say that it is not their fault and it is not on their capacity. So I think that that problem is should be solved by the management and the by the university. However, it is important to manage the thing that is from our control. So I will be talking about my opinion from the side of the students and from the side of the management and the university. So firstly, in my opinion, on the side of the lecturer and the university, I think that it is better to try a different online learning method for the ease of the students and the lecturer. There is a lot of online learning method that can be done to ease the student, like real-time classes, recorded classes, and way more. And personally, recorded classes is good to be applied when most of the students have the problem with the internet connection, because they have the choice to to watch the video in any time that they are free and they have a good internet connection. And personally, in my experience of studying in Korea, during the during the class registration period, we can see the type of the learning method used for the classes. Like for this class, what kind of the learning method is used for this class. Is either the class is live streaming or the recorded video that can be watched at certain duration, like a recorded video that can be watched for like 1 day only. And I must say that this truly is the student to choose the type of learning method that suits them for their situation. And choosing the type of learning method is very important for the student to find their suitable type of learning with their pace and their current situation regarding the internet connection. And also, university or lecturer should make a survey regarding their students' internet connectivity and their problem in online learning to have a better perspective of the students' learning environment, and they can choose which type of online learning method that can be implemented to ease the students. Like for example, if there is a class with a lot of students who always have their problem with the internet connection due to unavoidable reason, maybe it is better for the class to be changed into recorded class or recorded class that can be watched at some certain duration. And by and also we can use a lot of software such as Blackboard that because from by using that Blackboard, the lecturer can detect and monitor whether the student really watched their classes or not. And also, and if most of the students prefer live streaming classes and they have a good internet connection, maybe university or lecturer can find out what kind of streaming medium is the best to deliver the class. There is a lot of software that can be used for meetings such as Google Meet, Zoom, Kaltura, Blackboard, and so on. And for our classes in Korea, mostly we use Zoom and Kaltura for most of our classes. And by the side of the students, uh, to overcome the internet connection problem, I recommend the students to be prepared around 10 minutes before the classes so that they can do early preparation before the class start, such as checking the data subscription, checking the internet connection, etc., so that they will not have any problem during the class. They can use the time to find good internet spot and enter the online class. And if there is an unavoidable problem with the connection, lecturer should provide the recording of the previous class to the students, as this is a problem that cannot be avoided by the students. Also, students should always check about their gadget performance to ensure that it did not affect the internet connection. I'm not really sure about the relation between the gadget performance and internet connectivity, but I think that it might have some effect to the internet connection. So be sure to always have the gadget in the highest efficiency so that it can work properly in a average internet connection. Plus, for the student, it is crucial to inform to the instructor or the lecturer if you are having problems with the internet connection. I'm sure that the lecturer truly aware of the student situation and will provide the solution for the student to make sure that they can attend the class easily. So, so that's all of my opinion regarding the solution for students' internet connection problem. And I hope that you guys find it useful. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nur Hakim. So from that things, we also know that not only student facing problems, so lecturer facing the same things. So don't worry, guys. The management of your university still aware, still take care of your situation. So I hope you guys can sustain, can and never give up in study. So keep it up. So the problems that we're facing right now is internet connection, and maybe you guys can use tips from Mr. Lukman, which is can ask the lecturer to use the great mediums of streamings and also other things to make sure the learning still ongoing. So thank you, Mr. Lukman Hakim. So right now we're going into our second panel, which is Mr. Aizat Razali. So as you guys know that sadly some university facing the problem in terms of mental health, and unfortunately we have lose two of our students before this because facing some depression and anxiety. So from that the other friends, other people, other students feel like scared about these things. So to avoid this thing from being the major impact for students, so I want to ask Mr. Aizat Razali what tips or things that we can overcome to avoid this mental health from being the nightmare for the student. Welcome, sir.
So because of the increase in number of students that is depressed due to online learning, stress of assignments, internet problems, personal problems, and etc., is quite a big thing nowadays because we're studying online. But the things that I would suggest and how to overcome this problem is firstly is to seek help and support system. I mean, reach out for help because I believe there are various of mediums to seek help from NGOs, hospitals, universities, counselors, hotline, and etc. I believe there are various of mediums because this is just on my general knowledge, but if this is wrong, I'm so sorry. Because what I knew, to meet a psychiatrist, I believe in Malaysia, you need to have a referral letter from the general practitioner, which you can get from government health clinic or non-government health clinic. So you need to explain your intention to see a psychiatrist for further assessment and tell the symptoms and request for a referral letter. So this is for medical purposes. But if you don't feel like medically intuitive to do so, I mean, you can still reach out to your friends, family, because don't keep it to yourself. Because I believe that I understand the stress of studying online because sometimes because during lockdown we also some of us were studying online, and also the personal problems that we are having nowadays will also affect your mental health. So especially during these hard times. So don't ever feel like if you have a problem, you don't need to have this thinking saying that I have a problem, he has a problem, so I don't want to disturb his problem. No, it's like we've heard the hashtag kita jaga kita. So that hashtag is actually very, very important in handling these issues because you need to have someone to talk to. You do need to keep it to yourself because it could actually impact your studies, and we don't want that. And based on my experience, just yesterday, I believe that most of Malaysian students, universities, you guys are having finals, some of them. And my friends video call me and say that I have a finals this week, so I'm so stressed of studying. So this is why the reason I called you. So when studying, have a take 5 to call you, to reach out to you. So this is a great way on how to overcome this problem. So reach out to friends. You have friends, you have family to talk to. So yeah, I would like to say something because sometimes life will kick you around, but sooner or later you realize that you're not just a survivor, you're a warrior, and you're stronger than anything life throws you away. Because you are stronger than you thought you were. I mean, believe it or not, we are the generations that are graduating in this pandemic. So it shows that you are capable enough to go through this hardship. I mean, we are all in this together. So that is one thing that you need to think of. So what I can say here is seek help, go to reach out to everyone, saying that if you're not okay, it's okay not to be okay. Like the drama title, you know. So yeah, just reach out to them. Keep in touch and always take care of yourself because your health always matters for to others. Okay, so I think that's all from me. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac. Good sharing about how to overcome the mental health. So you guys don't take lightly about this mental health, because this thing it can make somebody feel depression, anxiety, and so on. So I love the way that Mr. Isaac said, we are stronger than we thought. So you guys can do it. We can reach the finish line. So keep it up. And if you guys having trouble, so you can seek for help, ask your counselings department and so on. So from that things you can improve your motivation, so you doesn't need to have depression and so on. So thank you, Mr. Isaac, for your sharing about mental health overcome. So next, we will move to Mr. Hatim. So Mr. Hatim, as we know that being somebody that have perfectionist, because they have a behavior to make their works more perfect and others and so on. So from that, students is not about finish one task or two tasks. They have a lot of things: presentation, quiz, test, assignment, and so on. So from that things, they're facing we call it chasing the deadline and so on. So this thing will give them burden to give the quality of the good works or assignment and so on. So I want to ask Mr. Hatim, what tips that you are doing to make sure you have a good timetable and management for your finish your task and on the deadline?
I would love to remind all of you to pay attention and grab your notebooks, pen, and jot down every single point that I will say after this. So back to the question, I will divide it into 4 points here. Okay, for my first point, first of all, after we got all the assignment, we need to jot down every single detail of our assignment either on our notebooks or phone notes. But for me personally, I would recommend for all of you to jot it down on our phone's note. And why is that? Because, okay, why is that? Because you know that we always carry our phone everywhere, even in the toilet. Am I right? So why is it important to us? It's because to make sure that you won't miss any single detail of your assignment to make it perfect, even if not going to be perfect, but it close to the perfections. Okay, and you can finish and submit your assignment before you do it with the ease. Okay, for my next point, please make sure make a prioritize for all the assignment that you got based on the level of difficulties, effort, and time that you need to spend for it to complete. For me personally, I would prefer to set my assignment with a difficult one because I know that I will need a lot of time to make it done, and usually the harder assignment gonna give us the highest amount of scores. So we can fully focus on it to get a flying color scores compared with if we did the same assignment last minute. I'm 100% sure that people will say, I can finish my assignment last minute. Yeah, maybe you can, but it's not going to be as perfect as when you make it earlier. Okay, why? Because you don't have time to double check it, so you won't know or realize if you did any mistake on your assignment, and from that you can see how much time you already wasted for an easy and less marked assignment. Okay, so let me take a deep breath for a second. Okay, my third point here, we need to specify and organize our assignment into a specific file, document in our laptop or PC. It's very essential, guys, because to make it easier for us to refer, or if we need something to improve on it, it won't kill much of our time just to trying to file the document or file in our laptop. And if you didn't organize your assignment or file, what's going to happen? It could affect your emotion. What I mean by emotion here, like you will get stressed if you didn't or hardly to find the file or document. Okay, for my last point, I would say that get enough rest and sleep. Why I want to point this out? Okay, let me emphasize my point here. Mostly of students nowadays, they are lack of sleep and rest. They take it for granted, which means they don't really care and focus on it, especially during the examination months. It's totally wrong, you guys. It's totally wrong, you guys. Plus, even in science, it's proven that our body needs to rest or sleep at least 6 to 7 hours a day. It's not good for our physical and mental health as well. And can you imagine, like, how can we stay focused on our exam or presentation day if we lack of sleep and rest? So bear in mind, guys. So that's all for me now. Back to our moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tim, for your sharing session. So, okay, from the tips, I can see here what you said about need to prior our work, our assignment. So the most hardest one is most highest mark. So that thing is the important things or important tips to, for other students, because you need to have the most hardest assignment need to be done first. So you can manage your files, organize your files so that you cannot confuse what things you do. So, and the last one, I think maybe have enough rest. So because overwork can make you feel like unmotivated, feel tired, and so on. So from that things, you need to have a rest, enough rest, sleeps, and so on. So take care of your health and so on. So thank you, Mr. Atim. So right now we want to hear from Mr. Kaizwan. So Mr. Kaizwan, as we know
Yes.
that as we know that right now we are facing online distance learning, which is we cannot meet our friends, we cannot meet our seniors, we cannot and the important one is we cannot meet our lecturer, right? So from that, it's hardest for us to know about the most importance of understanding in learning. So from that, it's give us difficult to understand our subject and so on. So from that, we need to spend a lot of time watching YouTube, study on YouTube, and explore the internet article and so on. So from that, is having some bad effect for us because we need to spend a lot of time in front of laptop and mobile phone. So I want to ask Ms. Kazuan about this issue, which is we facing the unproductive learning. So what things maybe come out from your mind, Ms. Kazuan? What things that we need to do to overcome this unproductive learning? Maybe a suggestion?
So when the COVID-19 first broke out, Taiwan was one of the countries with the best epidemic prevention measures. Under the serious epidemics of various countries, Taiwan remained free of cases for months. After school starts, my friends are all taking online classes and I'm the only one who can go to school. Unfortunately, in the middle of May in this year, the COVID-19 broke out in Taiwan. Therefore, I just took online classes for a month and a half. At first, I thought online classes were very interesting because I had never tried it before, so it wouldn't be a boring and tiring learning method. But after a few days, I started to feel bored. Accordingly, I used some tips to help me go through these endless online classes. First of all, I will eat some snacks while studying to freshen up and replenish my energy. For example, I will eat some chocolate bar or some sweets so that I will not feel tired so quickly. But as you know, eating so much snacks make us become fat. So make sure you take the right amount and do exercise occasionally. At the same time, if you eat while attending class, you should also concentrate on class to avoid distractions. In addition, if you face any problem with your studies and you can't solve it by yourself, you can talk to your classmate and invite them to study together online or ask your parents or siblings for help. Other than the content of the teacher's lecture, we can also find some interesting teaching courses or some teaching websites such as Kobe and Vice. Of course, not the Kobe Bryant, it's Kobe, Kohbee. There are some teaching apps on Google Play that you can find it. This will not only allow you to learn as quickly as possible, it wouldn't make you lose interest in the course. in general, I think we should maintain an optimistic attitude when studying because learning can actually be fun. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Kajwan. So, thank you, Ms. Kajwan, for your tips about how to handle or maybe suggestion for unproductive learnings. Some tips for students to start make yourself suitable or comfortable with this kind of situation, which is online distance learning. So you guys can make yourself happy. You can ask your friend to have an online meeting and discuss in there. So these things is the important things to us because we need to have a good discussion with friends. Even though we cannot meet them at campus or so on, so we need to find the alternative way to ensure that we can continue the path of our study. So thank you, Ms. Kazran, for your sharings about the overcome in unproductive learning. So next, we move to the next session, which is the extra tips for facing the final exam and maybe for have a good presentation and so on. So I would like to ask our first panel, which is Mr. Umar Hakim. So Mr. Umar Hakim, as you know that you're studying in South Korea and having a culture at there and so on. So maybe you can give some vibes from South Korea, which is can make our students from Malaysia maybe and others country to feel more motivated and that doesn't have any tired in doing their online distance learning. So what tips that you can inject them or what motivation that you can inject to our audience, our viewers about how to maintain and concentrate in online distance learning?
Okay. So first of all, like what Ms. Kajan said, the online class is quite boring. Yes, I totally agree with that. However, I have some tips that I done to myself on how to be motivated for these online classes, and I will share to you guys some of my tips on how I gain motivation or to get enthusiastic in my online studies here in Korea. Okay, so my first tip is to always have or in what Malay people say, muhasabah, or a reflection session to ourselves. Uh, because I admit that the online studying is truly exhausting and a burden to us. And I think that it is important to think about your achievement until now as a spirit booster or a motivation. For a university student, always think about the achievement of you on entering a university uh, because many of us did not get the chance to further the studies in the field or our courses of our interest. Uh, as for me, I am honestly grateful because I got the chance to further my studies here in Korea to gain more knowledge for our country, and I use that as a motivation for me to stay uh, motivated in studying in Korea. So uh, always have a muasabah or a reflection session about your goal. And the second tip is to interact with other students during the class break or after the class. So, like you guys know, the difference between the online class and the offline class is, of course, the lack of the human interaction. Studying in front of the laptop or phone for a whole day is not healthy for us, as we also need to interact and communicate with other people physically. So always have a time to have a talk and spend times with your friends, housemate, or family after the class. And if you are living alone, it is better to chat or video call your friends or family and talk about your day. As for me personally, I will talk to my housemate and friends whenever class end, or sometime we will go out and grab a coffee or have a meal together after the class. So by doing this, it will not only reduce the stress of online studying, but it's also good for our mental health also. Thirdly, always take a small break for a while from studying. Studying is important, of course, but your health is more important. During the class break, stop looking at the screen for a while and take a small break by doing small things such as making coffee or doing a stretch or warm up or a simple power nap and so on. When I feel exhausted, I will take a small break by playing online game, strolling in the online shop stores like Shopee, or just take a 10-minute nap, as simple as that. Small break is important so that you may not be demotivated in your studies. For the fourth tips, always spend time with nature after a hectic day in front of the laptop or the phone. Screen time should be controlled because it will affect our health. It is advisable to recharge your body by interacting with nature. There is a lot of way to do that, such as you can go for a jog, brisk walk, or maybe having sunning time on the grass. I also relieve my stress by having a jog by the river and sometimes spend my time under the sun. But of course, please please take extra precaution, especially during this pandemic time, to avoid any exposure to the virus. Always make sure to wear the mask all the time when you are outside. For the fifth tips, always reward yourself after the class or examination. Be sure to reward yourself after having a long class or having examination as a motivation for us to keep moving forward. There is a lot of way to reward yourself, such as playing game, spending time with your friends, buying something for yourself, and so on. After a tiring or After a tiring day or week, I will reward myself by sipping a chocolate drink during a walk as a reward for my accomplishment. Any type of reward is okay as long as you become happy after a tiring moment. And finally, for the final tips, always have a plan and manage the deadline for the studies and assignment. Time management is crucial as it prevents us from having a hectic moment when we done something at the very final moment. Speaking personally, I always manage my plan by having deadlines. Gratitude helps me to stay focused and motivated to complete my task so that I can have my time to study, to enjoy, and to improve myself. So that's all the tip from me. As a conclusion, studying through online medium is undeniably exhausting and tiring, but as a student, it is our duty to complete this course and studying. My hope is that all the students did not give up on their studies and find all the possible way to be motivated and enthusiastic with their studies. Studies might be hard, but with the help of from the family, lecturer, and friends, inshallah, we can handle this online learning better together. So that's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lumahakin. What a great tips for us. A lot of tips for us, which is we can reward ourselves, take a break, and interact with our classmate during the class lecture. So from that things, our friends, our audience can apply these tips because maybe this tip can help you guys to make sure you guys have motivate yourself to continue study and don't have any boring during the lecture because the communication way with the lecturer and student is important because that things is the way for lecturer to know that you guys understand what they are teaching you. So from that, I think it's good, inspiring and motivation tips for students to continue studying. So we move to our second panel, which is Isaac Razali. So as you know that we are facing online distance learning, and some of us are not really having a good way to finish their assignment, which is right now. I think it's not only me. I think it's not only me. All the students facing the same problem, which is when you guys get the sleeping partner, which is when you guys have a task, group task, and then suddenly your teammate or other individual or other your members have attitude of sleeping partner. So what things or tips that you need to do to ensure that these things can make yourself give proper result and encounter your friends or group member from being a sleeping partner. So I think Mr. Isaac can give some tips for this.
Yes, sleeping partner is pain in the ass actually. So for me, for having a sleeping partner, I would categorize them because okay, group assignment, as we know, there are two types. It's either more than 3 people or you have a partner. It's you or him, just partner. So for more than 3 people, there are two types of sleeping person. So the first one is the invisible one, and the second one is the silent one. So for the invisible one, usually this is the one that is a silent reader and always pop in once, but then disappears and you don't know where he goes. So unfortunately, this person doesn't really offer much in terms of opportunity to work with. So this is a scenario where you don't have much of a choice other than speak to your professor about getting a new person or remove this person to the group. I mean, you have to put your feet down and you need to discuss with your teammate, because if you don't, each member of the group will have to do his job or her job, which it isn't fair for everyone involved, because you and your friends has other projects that you need to finish. So this is one kind of a person that you need to talk to the lecturer with. So the next one is the silent one. I mean, the silent one are always there during discussion, but they don't give any ideas or suggestion to help with the project. So my tips would be try to promote group discussions, like going around in a circle and asking each group of a member to contribute an idea or which they would like to contribute, to make sure each person opinion would be heard. Or perhaps asking direct questions may be a good route, because when you're asking a direct question, it's difficult to deny giving an answer. So make sure, but make sure you don't give a yes or no answer, because they will be like answer yes, no. So for example, ask things like, what are the areas that you have talents that you can help with the project? And if the guy or the girl will be like shy, no, I don't know, I don't have any talents, then come on, you must have that talent. So just remember that remaining positive may help will help them opening up and share more with the group. Okay, so for the partner, I mean, you have 2 person in a group, you and your partner. So I would categorize it to 2 different types of same. The first one is the person who likes to overpromise and underperform, and the procrastinator. So the first one is the person who likes to overpromise and underperform. So this guy usually always say, yes, I can do this, I can do that, I will be putting this slide and on and on. And during presentation, he will be just flop it down. So make sure you need to check your work and his work or her work so that you can prepare before presentation. So, and during those time, you can give positive feedback to each other regarding their contribution, and but never give a bad feedback, because a bad feedback could break his or her heart. I mean, they put their effort to this work. So give a constructive criticism, because constructive criticism can help, but make it a personal rule. For each piece of constructive criticism you're giving, you're doling out a compliment as well. Remember the burger structure. So you're putting out a bun saying that you're good at doing this, and then put it in meat, but you can try to adjust this part and then top it off with a bun. So remember the bun structure. So the next person is the procrastinator. I would say I can be the procrastinator because I usually work. I will perform better during the time limit. So But it's okay because I always do my work with my partner, which is always a procrastinator as well. So what I can say is that have a group deadlines and talk to that person, because for me, as a procrastinator, I would always set a deadline to finish this section of my part, so that I will finish that part, because people would do their work differently, so we cannot judge that. So maybe he performed better with time constraint. So that's why I would say give them a group deadline. So you need to finish this part by this, and this. So likely the procrastinator, cares about the assignment and will understand, but you don't need to aim to get this person a failing grade. But remember, your grades lies in the balance, meaning that um he's the procrastinator doesn't mean that he doesn't care about the grades, but it's just that the way that his work might affect his grade. So just talk to him, engage with him, and check in with him. Is his work done or not? So basically, there are two ways. The lenient way, which to engage with them, keep track with their work, and then give them clarification if they don't understand with the questions. And there are some strict ways, which you have to put your feet down and talk to the lecturer, because you have the full control of your submission or your project, and which in the end of the day, it will affect your grades. So we don't want to do that. So think wisely. So yeah, that's all from me, I guess.
All right, thank you, Mr. Aizat. I saw here you are so great in you're presenting about the tips for overcome or avoid this shipping partner. So that is nice, quite nice for me, because you have explained about how to manage this shipping partner, which is we can discuss with them, make or set the group deadline, because these things is important, because we want to know our teams are doing their job well, because this is the group mark and so on. So from the things, I think you deliver well tips for us. So I think our audience can use these tips and engage with your shipping partner. I don't say that you are facing all our audience facing these things, but when you're facing these things, you can use tips and engage with them. Ask them how to doing their job if they doesn't know how to doing the words and so on. So thank you, Mr. Isaac, for nice tips to give that you give before. So next, we move to Mr. Hatim. Okay, Mr. Hatim, this thing I think is important and quite interesting for our audience, which is when we study online, digital learning, we are facing a lot. We discover a lot of talent, which mean for somebody cannot record themselves, record their own video of themselves and deliver the good presentation, and maybe doing some other talents, which is work of or task, making a poster and so on. So from that thing, they discover themselves. But unfortunately, for someone or student that doesn't know about how to deliver a good presentation, how to make sure they have a good speech and so on. So maybe Mr. Hatim can share about the way or tips to do well presentation or so on. So Mr. Hatim.
Okay, thanks to our moderator. And before I start, I want to give a disclaimer that I'm not the perfect human being in terms of giving valuable tips, but I will share with all of you on how I manage myself to go out from my comfort zone and be where I am now. I'm not saying that I'm a good enough, but I'm still in learning process. Okay, so back to the question. I'm gonna give you four tips on how to build your self-esteem and boosting out your confidence level. So for my first tip, I used to like learning from someone better and observe how they manage to deliver their speech or video presentation in a perfect way. Like, how can you do it? For example, maybe you can learn it from the YouTube or any sources in the internet on how to enhance your confidence level and how to make a good videos or slide for your assignment. For your next step, what you you should do just practice, because as we know that practice make perfect. If you already practice it once and it doesn't goes well, so just keep doing the same process until you feel satisfied, because nothing good come easy in life, and we need to sacrifice so many things to be success. And that's what we call learning process. Okay, for my second point, as for my second tip is, you should enjoy with what you are doing. What I mean here is, whenever you did something because you enjoy or you love, it's going to give you a different result and impact compared with something you doesn't. So which one you think that could give you the best result between both of that? Yeah, of course, something that you enjoy or love to do it. It's going to give you the best result. So before you start doing your assignment or videos, please tajdid your niyat and do your best to enjoy every single moment of it. Okay, for my third tips here, you need to build out a positive vibe inside of you. This is actually one of the steps that's gonna lead you to success. Okay, why I'm saying this? If we manage to build up the positive vibe inside of ourselves, we will turn to be more open-minded and positive thinker. And whenever overcomes challenge hit ourselves, we know how to handle it. So once you manage to build up a positive vibe inside of yourself, at the same time, we already create a positive circle around us. This is a very important to have such circle in our life to create ourselves to be a better person in future. Okay, for my last tip, once you already struggle and pull off our effort to our assignment or exam, what we should do, just keep praying and tawakal. And I'm always keep this meliko with me, which is usaha tidak pernah mengkhianati hasil, which means God will grant you the best result you deserve based on how effort that you contribute on it. Okay, so that's all from me tonight, and I hope that these tips gonna give some benefit to all of you and how to boost your confidence level and go out from your comfort zone and to be successful in individual in future. And I wanted to wish you all the best in upcoming exam, and you can do it. Okay, so that's all from me.
Thank you, Mr. Tims. Okay, great. Sharing about tips how to make sure you have a confidence level, you have improved your confidence levels. I think this is a good tip for us because when you have a positive vibe, when you have doing a lot of practice and all out in anything you're doing, you will have a good result at the end of your work. So these things can improve your confidence and can improve your quality of work and so on. So thank you, Mr. T, for your sharing about the tips to how being confident in presentation and other things in their assignments. So last but not least, I would like to welcome Ms. Kazwan for the last question or tips for our forums tonight. So as you guys know that we are facing online digital learning, like I said before. And then currently in Malaysia, I give an example, currently in Malaysia, we cannot go outside doing some exercise and so on. So when students facing the problems or a lot of study, thinking about the assignment and so on, they have loss of energy in themselves. So they feel like tired and attend the class and feel not have any spirits to study. So I want to ask Ms. Kaizwan, what tips that you can give to our audience tonight for make sure ourselves be more energetic and can study and focus in class?
First, when I encounter pressure while doing assignments, I will put down what I'm doing and do some exercise with my favorite songs. Exercise is not only good for our health, but also improve our immunity. In this extraordinary period, exercise is more important to keep us healthy. As we can't go out during the epidemic, we can also take advantage of this time to get closer with our family. For example, we can watch movie with our family or wash the car together. So, and let us not only focus on schoolwork. In addition, we can also enrich our life by learning some musical instruments or dance to increase our interest or hobby. But most of my assignments are group assignments. My classmate and I allocate our respective tasks and arrange a time for everyone to discuss the assignment. It makes me feel less stressed to do assignments by group. So if you are doing a solo task, you can find some friend to help and make your mind more clearly. Besides, proper rest time is very important because as long as you feel tired, you can't continue to do it. This will not only affect our thinking but also increase our own pressure. So I think enough sleep is also very important. As an adult, we must sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a day. It will truly affect our mood the next day. At last, maybe you can get some spirit or motivation in your free time by watching short videos such as TED Talks or TikTok. It really helps a lot in reducing stress. Yes,
All
that's
right,
all.
thank you, Miss
Thank you.
Kaizwan. So, tips that you have been given before is quite interesting because this is the way for us as a students to make sure ourselves happy and energetic. Do not feel tired and do not feel lame anymore because sometimes before this, I never saw my friends doing TikTok and watching TikTok and others so on. So when they are feeling unenergetic, feeling tired and so on, so they do some challenge in TikTok and so on. So from that, they can make themselves happy. No needs to thinking much about their tasks and so on. So thank you to all panels because giving some tips and discuss about the current issue that have been affected worldwide students tonight. Because some tips may be great tips to all students, and I think is the good way to sharing with our audience because we are facing the study method in Malaysia. So maybe you guys can open their eyes, open our audience about how to know about how you guys are facing the study in other country. So thank you. I want to say thank you for your sharing and tips. So right now, we open the questions from the audience. You guys can ask each panel do it in one. You can you can ask the question regarding the study that our panel study about. So okay, this question is from Siti Noraisha Rahmat. How hard it is to communicate and blend with the local students? So I would like to ask panel number one, which is Mr. Lukman Hakim. So I want to ask you, how hard is communication between and blend with the local students? Which is you currently study in Korea, South Korea, and usually they use the mother tongue, mother language, which is Korea. So how you communicate with them?
So, frankly saying, for me, it is quite hard to communicate in Korean with the Korean student. But actually, we managed to communicate easily with them because they already know that we are a foreigner. So they didn't expect that. They didn't have that high expectation. But actually, we both can understand our Korean. So I think it is quite hard to speak at first, but then it become easy if you uh, like uh, terbiasa dengan tu. And sometimes we speak in Korean that we forgot that term in English. Sorry. And to blend with the local students, I must say it is also not that hard to blend with the students because I think that Korean students nowadays are more open to the foreigner and they truly welcome the foreigner. So I also joined a few programs with the Korean, and I must say that I blend quite well with them. And yeah, having a Korean friend is quite good actually. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, so I understand. So it's a little bit difficult for you, but you're planning well. You're doing well because this is the way for you to understanding how the culture is there. So next question. Uh, So next question is from Nur Hidayatul Marifah Roslan. Is there any apps or website that you can suggest to us in terms of helping us in study or helping us in focusing while study? So before this, like Kajuan said that we have an example like Kobe. I don't understand. I forget the apps. So maybe I deliver this question to our panel number 4, which is Miss Kaizwan. So you can answer this question, Miss Kaizwan.
I I got find two of the apps, which is Kobe and Vice. KOHBEE and WISE. There are some teaching apps on Google Play that you can find it. So it wouldn't only allow you to learn as quickly as possible. Yeah, these two.
All right, thank you. So maybe some apps can be discovered by students. So that's a suggestion from Miss Kaizwan. Kobe for the apps that can maybe help students to focusing and give more education or knowledge about the study online. So next question is from. Okay, the question is from Zulfadli Muhammad Fauzi. So how to be consistent when doing work because there are a lot of distraction. So I would like to give this question to Mr. Isaac because sometimes when we doing some work, at first we are very excited and then we forget the consistency after we feel that boring and so on. So what can make us be more consistent in doing works?
Firstly, I would say that during my studies, I do my work as well. I work part-time as a baker here in New Zealand, which is quite surprising. And also I took a casual job as a stock taker here. So at first, I was juggling between working and studying, and not to mention, I'm the vice president of Canterbury Malaysian Student Association here, SAMSA. So there are a lot of things that I need to juggle with. So, but the thing is how to being consistent in studying is that time management. So time management is very important to us because for example, my part-time work is only during weekends and my casual work is usually depends on the weekdays, and my clubs even always on weekdays, but you need to manage your time wisely. So for me, how you focus on classes is very important. Without, you need to go to the lectures, you need to go to tutorials and have group discussion, focus on that particular part. So when you don't understand a thing, or just ask them, I'm sorry, I don't understand this, but can you explain it to me again? And so with that, you don't have to worry about your studies anymore. So you can just work as usual. So time management and focus during studies is very important. That's how you maintain consistent during studies. And remember, grades is if you're as a student. So grade, you need to prioritize which one is first. So of course, grade is important, and then second, then you need to find work. Yeah, that's from me.
So yeah, great tips. Great some answer for our audience because you guys need to support your teams your classmate to ensure they have enough motivate and enough consistency to study or continue their study. So next question. By the way, thank you, Mr. Isaac, for your answer the question. So next question is from Putra Daniel. And how do the local student describe our Malaysian student? So I would like to ask Mr. Hatim. So you, if they are in Egypt, what the perception of local people at there think about our culture in Malaysia? Your mic, Mr. Hatim. Mic.
Okay, thank you for the question. So back, what did local student like Egyptian when they saw like a Malaysian student, and yeah, they know that Malaysian student they are very very good, they're very like helpful, friendly, and very very like I don't know what to say, but yeah, they think like Malaysian is very, very good countries. And yeah, some of my Egyptian friends said like they even want to visit Malaysia one day because they fall in love with the culture itself. So yeah, that's what I can say about it. So yeah, that's it.
All right. So from that audience, so I can understanding lah. So student local people or student from Egyptians also want to meet or want to go in at Malaysia because they want to see by their own eyes what happened or what
Yeah.
actually culture that Malaysian having. So next question is um, from Nofarani Sulaiman, heard that most of the Muslim living abroad need to walk for a distance in search for halal ingredient, and if many shops are closed down because of COVID-19, how do you guys overcome this problem? I think I would like to ask Mr. Lukman because he currently study in South Korea. So how our students, which is Muslim people, our Muslim students, want to overcome this problem, which is they need to find the halal store and so on. So when the COVID-19 appear, what they need to do, or maybe you can share what their action to find the halal foods.
Okay, thank you for the question. So about saying that Muslim in Korea need to work for distance for halal ingredients. Yes, I totally agree with that because when I first come to Korea in 2017, uh, we have to go to we didn't have to walk, but we go by subway to a city called Itaewon. So we have to go to the Itaewon every not every week, but to buy the halal ingredient and and for the Jumat prayer. So at first it was quite hard because we need to go for a distance. However, uh, uh, as the time change, there is until starting from like 2 or 3 years ago, there is an option for halal meat in the online shop. In Malaysia, there is Shopee, but in Korea there is an app called Kupang. So in the Kupang, there is an option for halal meat. So it is quite easy, and now that we are using that apps to buy halal meat through online, and they will deliver it in front of your house. So uh, we didn't have to go to the Itaewon for every week just to buy the halal ingredient. And it is true that most of the shops are closed during the COVID-19 because there is one restaurant that most of all Malaysians go for there for Malaysian food, but it is closed now, and it is closed until now. And but there is a lot of uh, halal restaurant datang come. At first, it was quite challenging to live here because of halal food. But now I think there is no problem about that halal food because there is a lot of online shop that sells halal meat, and there is a lot of halal restaurant here in Korea. So I think uh, that's all from me. Thank you.
So from that, we don't not to worry lah about our friends, Muslim friends that study in Korea, because maybe Korea already have apps that can student buy online, which is selling the halal foods. Thank you, Mr. Luman Hakim, for your explanation. So next, we answer a question from Shakira Zohaira. As a student, I'm sure the most of us addicted with watching movie, drama, and so on. How we can reduce it and focus on our study. So this cannot be avoided from our life, which is the student life. So we need to have maybe can enjoy ourselves, but enjoy a lot. Spend a lot of time with movie and so on will make us feeling lazy to doing our study. So what the tips that can be shared with our panels to reduce this kind of attitude? So maybe other panels, maybe I open this question for any panels to answer it. Maybe Mr. Isaac can share about how to reduce and focus in study, how to reduce this watching a lot of movie and maybe focus more in studies. Because right now UITM next week we're facing the final exams. So maybe Mr. Isaac can share about how to reduce it.
I try to avoid this question because as everyone know, as a procrastinating I am, I usually enjoy watching movies, playing games especially during final week. But so what I can say, am if I'm looking at myself, I would say that you need to have self-control because your your final exam is just around the corner. So you need to have a self-control to do this. Maybe try to I mean, okay, try to do any other physical activities by not just watching movies. Okay, watching movies and games, you're just sitting around, just watching that. So you're not making any physical movement. So maybe just go have jogging or skipping around, doing some fitness. So maybe that way you can develop your brain to move your gears around your brain so then you can try study and focus better. So yeah, that's why I can say do more physical work so that you can avoid watching movies. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I think I would say to myself to get with this question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Isaac. I think it's good sharing that too, because yeah, we need to have a self control. Do not put a lot of time to some things that maybe can make ourselves lazy. So maybe I can ask Mr. Atim about his opinions. How to reduce the attitude or the behavior watching a lot of movie and focusing on study, Mr. Atim. Don't mind, Mister.
Okay, for me, to be honest, like I'm not the person who love to watch a movie a lot, but what I can say here, yeah, I love to playing games. So, like for myself, how I encounter like myself to not playing game a lot or to be like addiction in gaming. Yeah, I love to make like timetable for myself. Yeah, like I will put like a limits for me to playing games like every day so I can still focus on my exam and yeah, for me like time like make a timetable, like make a like organizing your timetable. And yeah, you have after like you already like make it your timetable, like you have to follow the timetable follow the timetable that you have made, like good. And yeah, and with that, like maybe inshallah like you can focus on your exam as well, and at the same time like you can enjoy what you're doing. So yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, I agree with that because timetable or time management is a great things to us to make sure ourselves have manageable times, manageable in doing anything. So thank you, Mr. Tim, because reminded us about the timetable. So next from okay, Nurul Hanani Shakira binti Hanans asks, hello and good evening. I would like to ask, what is your tips on finding a productive time to study and do revision? Thank you. So right now we are facing final exam. For your information, our panels. So what things or tips to finding the productive time, which is we at the morning, evening, or night? What are the productive time that you are usually do to making a revision or study? Can any panels answer it? Maybe Mr. Lukman. Here we have fans for, we can see here the fans from Mr. Isaac. A lot of our viewers love your thought, love your way you give some tips. So good for you. So other friends to answer this question, maybe Miss Kajwan, can you answer it? How usually usually what time you study or you doing some revision? Any panels? Maybe I open from any panels.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Tim, would you want to answer it?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, like for myself and for other my friends here, like we usually like find like our own study time. And for me itself, like I love to study, like I love to like do my studies or like doing some revision or after like subuh prayer, like fajar time. What did you say? After subuh prayer, because like for me, like I can find like myself, and I can find like, yeah, I can focus on what I'm doing or what I do on that time. So yeah, like for me, like maybe you guys can do the same thing, like study on after subuh. And yeah, and before, and maybe before you're doing like your study, like you can read some like reverse some like Quran, like yeah, to make yourself like calm. And before you start your studies, like maybe, yeah, you can do some good things. So it can give you like a positive vibe for you to start what you're doing. So yeah, so that's from me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about the downtime or subuh. You call it subuh, right? You have to more understanding subuh time because that's the way for us to gain more focusing while study. But yeah, some people can do, some people cannot. So next question is from Noriana Amani. Okay, what is the difference between study abroad or study in Malaysia? Which one is more better? So I would like really want to ask all the panel about this question because I want to know how you differentiate or how you ask your friend maybe that they learn or study in Malaysia, they are facing ODL, and while you studying abroad, and then you sharing about the difference of culture that study. So any panels can share? Maybe we can start with Mr. Lukman. What is the difference study abroad and study in Malaysia?
Okay. So, studying in Malaysia, I have a 9 month experience studying in Malaysia. When I'm studying, I'm taking the preparatory courses for Korean language, and what can I say about the difference between studying in Malaysia and the Korea is the first one is about the language barrier, of course, because when in Malaysia we can uh, what do you call that, uh, easily learn in bahasa Melayu or bahasa English because we always use that. But when we are in Korea, we need to understand that in Korea. So like it is really hard and it's a really new thing when you are studying in Korea. And the second one is of course the cultural shock because you can see that in Korea there is something that you can do in Malaysia but you can do in Korea, and there is something and otherwise because like and also there is a lot of pantang larang, and like you have to do in Korea, like you have to be polite when in the subway there is some peraturan. So like it is the cultural difference is quite different, and uh, mm, so I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't doubt for this because language barrier is difficult to us because we are already learning at school, our primary and secondary school in English, in Malay. So yeah, no doubt for that. So maybe from Miss Kazwan, what is the difference study abroad and studying in Malaysia? Can you share with us, Miss Kazwan?
Study abroad, we can get a lot of scholarships for foreign students, and it's easier to get the scholarship for us, and we can try to live without our family, to live our 这叫什么 discipline. Yeah, discipline. We can live discipline ourselves first. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Nice, thank you for your perception or your opinion about the difference between study in Malaysia and abroad. So yeah, I think it's quite easily to get some scholarships because you are studying, you are representative as a Malaysian students that study abroad. So and then you will be my discipline like our first panel said, Mr. Lokman said, have a pantang larang, right? Some things that we need to follow, and we need to respect other culture. So thank you, Ms. Kazwan. So maybe Mr. Hatim, can you answer about the difference between study in Malaysia and study abroad?
Okay, for me, like I'm a traveler type of person, so that's me. Like I love to travel a lot and go like many places. So for me, like I find that travel in Egypt like way cheaper, and even in Egypt, like they have like many like good places, but then you don't have like a big cost just to travel there. So for me, traveling in Egypt is way cheaper than if you want to travel in Malaysia or like for example, like if you want to travel like from Malaysia to other European country, it's gonna cost you a lot. But then when you travel from Egypt to other European country, it's gonna be like, for me it's a bit cheaper, but not that cheaper. But yeah, it's fair enough. So yeah, for me, yeah, for traveling costs, it's way cheaper in Egypt compared to Malaysia. So yeah, that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so the last one, Mr. Isaac, what is the difference between study abroad and study in Malaysia? Which one the better one for you?
I mean, this kind of question can be quite sensitive. I don't know, but don't get me wrong. I like studying in New Zealand. I really like the culture here. All the lecturers here are very nice. Even if we try to answer the question in the lecturer would even say, "Are you from Malaysia? Wow, we really like people from Malaysia," meaning that they always praise us even though we do the bare minimum here. So the culture here is quite um unique. But for me, it's the same for studying in Malaysia or studying overseas, because you're still getting that education, and we always need to thank our lecturers because they always put up their effort to teach us. But the differences is that we need the language barriers, as the panel one says, and also I don't know, it's just the weather here. It's so cold. So yeah, for me, either way, I enjoy both. Yeah, the most important thing is that you get the education that you want. So yeah.
All right. So here you can see how I enjoy Mr. Aizat study at New Zealand. So I can see the happiness. So hopefully one day I can go at there lah. Can go New Zealand to see the culture at there. So thank you, Mr. Aizat. So next question is from Nur Khairi Zati. Are there any local lecturers who are racist with foreign students? So here it's not using term racist. It's macam how the perception of the other lecturers, which is the origin lecturers at their country. So what their perception towards our student, which is Malaysian student. Can you guys share about us? Can you share about the situation that our student facing? The perception of the lecturer, the origin lecturer at there. Maybe Ms. Kazwan can share about the the perception of origin lecturer at there. Any members we can answer. Okay, wait.
Wait for a while.
All right, can Ms. Kazwan?
Right.
No,
Okay.
because we are also curious about what actually student facing, because yeah, maybe we already face at like me, I'm at UITM. Sometimes I facing meet lecturer with the Indians, Chinese. So from that, yeah, they're nice to us, because I think they are really origin from Malaysia. So it's okay lah. Maybe from you guys that study abroad, maybe you can share about the perception from the lecturers, original lecturers at there, about our student, our Malaysian students. Okay, any opinion, Miss Kajwan?
I think I can
Okay,
say a bit
all right.
about this lecture. So actually in New Zealand we don't have any like racist lecturers. to our local students here, because as I mentioned earlier, all of the lecturers here are very, very nice, because even though we do the bare minimum, they would praise us like, oh, you're so good, you're going good at this thing. So the thing is that all lecturers here always supports their students, and when it comes to Malaysian students, the lecturers here know that Malaysian students are very hardworking student, always sits at the front of the lectures hall, and what we say that rajin, yeah, so rajin, because I have some lecture, and the thing is that because we Malaysian students here have a very great connection with the lecturers, always ask lecturers when we don't understand the topic. Like after the lecture, we meet the lecturer personally and ask them for opinions. So the connection between Malaysian students and lecturers here are very well maintained. So that's why we managed to jaga image kita. So that's one of the important things what we managed to do.
So yeah, sure. I agree with that, because we need to take care of our image, the Malaysian student image, because yeah, we as a student representative, or as a student that representative our country. So the good we deliver, the good we show, the good perception that the lecturer will receive at them. So maybe from Mr. Kaizuan, can you share about the perception of lecturer at there? Like Mr. Izzat said, the lecturer at New Zealand was really, really happy to see the Malaysian students. So maybe Kaijuan can share about your opinion.
Yeah, the Taiwan lecturer also very kind and friendly. They like to, how to say, talk to us and 了解 and know and want to know us Malaysian culture, and yes, and all because Taiwan is Chinese people, so don't have the this problem. Yes.
So yeah, I understand, because Kaijuan is from Chinese, right? So Taiwan's actually there cannot differentiate maybe Malaysian people or Taiwan people. So yeah, so from that from the panel we can see that the lecturer out there really kind and love to see our students. Sometimes that's great for us because we happy to hear that our student well at there. So maybe Mr. Loman can share about the perception of the lecture, original lecture there, about our student.
I can say that current lecturer is also like from the New Zealand or the Taiwan. The lecturer like Malaysian student, and sometimes when in my university, and when they know that we are foreigner like Malaysian student, so they will give option for us for an English test. So like it is quite easy for us, and yes, so I think there is a lot of advantages of being Malaysian student that the lecturer give, and I must say that the lecturer is good to the Malaysian.
I can see it there, yeah. Sometimes the original lecturer at there, maybe they want to give some easiness for students that from Malaysia, because yeah, they are excited too, because they can see the student from Malaysia, and they want to maybe approach more from us to know about our culture maybe. So yeah, good experience from you guys. So maybe one day I will experience that later. So last one, Mr. Tim, how about your perception? How about your comment about the perception from the original lecture toward our students in Malaysia, about our student in Malaysia?
Okay, for myself, the perception of the local lecturer toward us is very positive. For example, like whenever we are in class and some of students want to ask the lecturer about something and they find it out like it's very hard, like, and they like kind of like hard to ask, like how to use the perfect words on how to ask the lecturer about something, and yeah, the lecturer will understand that and they will help him to deliver like what they want to ask actually. So and then if you like actually like for me, yeah, to learn Arabic is very very hard, because if you don't know like Arabic is one of the hardest like language if you want to learn it. So for us like Malaysian, like we are really really struggle to like to learn how to learn Arabic like good. And yeah, our lecturer they are like they understand like how struggle we are on in terms of like learning the Arabic itself. So yeah, they are very helpful, and yeah, they would love to learn us like more about Arabic if we asking them, or even we didn't ask, like they will offer themselves to help us like for learning the language itself. So yeah, that's what I can say.
Yeah. So what I can conclude here, all the original lecturers have a good habit. Maybe they want to see lah how we represent as Malaysian students. Because like Mr. Isaac said, if we deliver the good attitudes to them, they will be happy and would like to approach us more than other students at time maybe. So the next question, I think the last question maybe to all the panels. The last question maybe. So Muhammad is Irfan bin Muhammad Nazri. Did you guys getting culture shock when study outside Malaysia, and how did you guys manage to adapt it? So honestly, I'm a Malaysian student. I'm currently in Malaysia. So when I'm continue my study in diploma here, I facing the culture shock. So in terms of how I want to manage my timetable, how I want to manage how to talk about stranger friends and so on. So even I facing the culture shock. And how about you guys? Maybe you guys a lot of things to need to control and need to adapt. So maybe you guys can share about how you counter the culture shock that you have facing. Maybe you have the culture shock, maybe you not. So in the panel, I think all the panels can answer this. You guys getting the culture shock while studying abroad? Okay lah, we go first with Mr. Isaac.
Okay. Culture shock. Okay, so actually we have our seniors here. So our seniors here will always guide us what to do and what not to do here. And so whenever we come there, the only culture shock that I having is the weather, because when we came in, the first time I came here in New Zealand, the temperature was -4 and it is so cold. We need to have like so many jacket. And the first night I sleep without a blanket. That's the most cultural shock that I'm having in here. But regarding the weather thing, academic is a struggle. It's a struggle because the first semester here in New Zealand, in overseas actually. So it's like, how do you say this? It's like you're playing my mind because it's your first time. Oh, study luar negara. I will enjoy lah dulu. So the first semester I flunked. It doesn't mean that I failed. I flunked one of the subjects. So and it dragged the GPA that I'm starting with is very low. So it's hard for me to keep up, to top up the GPA. So the way that I would overcome this issue is just to focus more on studies, go to lectures, go to tutorials, listen to what your senior says, ask your lecturer, be nice to your lecturer, so that you overcome this problem. So on the second semester, I managed to get great GPAs, and I managed to cover the flunk from semester 1 because of the academic struggles. So alhamdulillah lah, okay lah, the culture shock. Thanks to seniors juga, thanks to our seniors because they guide us. Just that your self-control to having fun in the first semester in overseas can be one of the culture shock. So it's just that you need to have your
Yeah, I agree with that. Because like me as semester one, I want to enjoy. I want to have some we will quite get spend out a time with our new friends. So from that, we have the way to spend our time at the first semester. So the sacrifice to the semester one is maybe the most valuable of us for the future. So, Mr. Lukman, can you share about the problem, or maybe you share the experience about the culture shock that you were facing at there?
I must say, cultural shock in Korea is quite a lot because Korea and Malaysia didn't have a lot of common in terms of culture and living. In terms of living, of course, the weather is quite challenging because right now is summer, and summer right here is around 39 degrees Celsius. Is quite high, and for the winter is around negative 11 something. That is really challenging for the weather. But I think the thing that I think is very challenging is about the waste management here, because to throw a rubbish, we didn't have one bin for one rubbish. There's actually three type of like waste that we need to separate, and it is quite challenging because we need to know that thing. I think is very challenging. And in terms of studying, I think it is quite a shock to see that how Korean really like to studies and how Korean really perform in their exam. Like when I was in the first semester, I was quite shocked that there is one subject that I can see that most Korean get 100, and then we are Malaysian like a bit lower. So this is quite a shock. But yeah, that's the thing that I think is very it's a shock. But thankfully, because of the seniors, we managed to like adapt to the studying environment in Korea. Like the senior will, there is a mentor-mentee session with the Malaysian senior here, and there is also the senior will also give you the past year question, and yeah, the senior will always help you. So it is quite nice. So I think that's all from me.
Okay. Yeah, the small thing I think yeah, small matters is a give a high impact to the country, such as like you said, Mr. Lokman. Even to differentiate the rubbish bin is hard for you, right? So this is culture from that to make us more disciplined at that. So thank you for your sharing. So Mr. Hatim, you can share about your experience of culture shock at there maybe. Mike. Mike.
Okay, sorry. For me, it's same things like Mr. Lokman. Like Egypt and Malaysia are very different in terms of like culture, and then like the lifestyle here also different. But for me, the most obvious one, I would say like the food, because for me, I love eating food. Like I'm a food hunter, so yeah, I found out it's a bit problem for me at the start. But then, like what I'm doing to encounter myself on like about the food itself, like I'm trying to adapt with the local food itself. And yeah, and if you guys didn't know, like Egyptian, like they love to eat something like very like sour, and for me, I couldn't handle it. So yeah, for me, difference of like food, yeah, maybe it's one of the biggest one for me, because yeah, that's it.
So
Yeah, that's all for me.
okay. So your love food at there, I think yeah, one of
Yeah.
my dreams too, because I want to travel around the world and feel eat their every culture food at there at the around the world. So thank you, Mr. Tim. So the last one, Ms. Kazran, can you share about your culture shock maybe that you have been experienced at Taiwan?
I think I didn't get any culture shock because their culture are same with my Chinese culture, so I can adapt it. And the weather here, it, that's all. Thank you.
Alright. It's okay, Miss Kajal. So, so what I can conclude here, all the panels having same experience except Miss Kaizuan, because the way she learns at Taiwan doesn't have any difference, I think, because as other parents facing the food culture, language culture, education, and so on. So maybe that things are the big hardest for them because they need to deal with that culture. Because like I said before, we as a student Malaysian need to representative our country, Malaysian country. So I think we need to take care our image of Malaysian students. So we end at our program. We at the end of our program. So I would like to thank you to all the panels. Thank you for you all because voluntarily to volunteer because join in our program. And I would like to represent also my teams, organizer, to apologize any mistake, any bad words, or any things that maybe hurts your feelings, your emotions. So I present them to apologize and accept my greetings of apologize. So last but not least, again I said thank you to all the panels. Thank you for your times and all the audience. So audience after this can scan the QR code to claim your certificate for this program. So I finished my words with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam UITM. Terima kasih.